Okay, so let's try the the two different forms of moving that we do. So the pushing with the leg and the pulling with the leg. So we'll try pushing first. So just feel the leg extending in that direction and the body moving in the other. So this sense that you're moving against a flow, there's like a river flowing in this direction and you're pushing against it. So you just want to feel the resistance that your body is offering the leg. Just imagine if you were like pushing a car or something, you'd really get into the leg in order to extend it. It's the feeling here. And in order to get the force to move you horizontally, you have to stay down. So you have to keep the lid on the cooker. So, ooh. And just feel it offering just a slight turn. So it will, as the leg gets rid of you, it will tend to turn you away from it. So you tend to turn towards the leg you're coming into, whether you're pushing or pulling. So pushing, pushing. So just try and see the extension of the foot through the ground. So the ground is something we try to pass through the surface of the ground, rather than something we purchase on. And then you just want to feel the end of the push, how that actually loads this leg so that this leg can spring back into its push. So here I'm really pushing with this leg to load this one so that this can then just spring back when the other one releases itself. So there's almost a sense that the push back is just a natural bounce in the spring. It's the spring being released. So just really straighten the leg in order to spring back. So just keep that feeling of sinking. That's what's difficult, really, because that's like that's like a mood that's there all the time, like a prevailing mood. And then just as you straighten the leg, just try and get that to sort of come up the spine a little. Yeah. Yeah, so when you're in it's almost got a feeling of like the yoga warrior poses, you know, where they sort of whip the back leg into the spine. Again, I want to feel this leg extending indefinitely behind me. So spectres, you know, it's like you see a flow, a movement, an extension. So you're not thinking in terms of things, you're thinking in terms of flows. My leg is flowing that way, my body is flowing this way. Okay. So now let's just stand just a moment. So first, let's just feel the arms, yeah? So maybe just bounce side to side a little. You want to feel the heaviness of the arm sort of stretching away from the shoulder, sort of pulling the neck, the shoulder. So they're like really loose, like two thick ropes dangling by your side. And then just imagine that one hand is getting heavy. Yeah. And so it's pulling you down, but there's a sense that it's stretching as well as extending. Yeah. And then the other side, just imagine the heaviness. So it almost comes out of the socket here. And just feel that flexing the spine. It's sort of bending the spine to one side. Your weight is coming into that leg. And again, feel the other leg. So what you don't want is this feeling like the heaviness of the arm is crumpling you forwards. If anything, it's doing this. Yeah. And just feel the release in the shoulder. So, because the release in the shoulder is the same as the release in the upper chest when you stand in front of the other person. So yeah, so you're really sort of stretchy and bendy. And then just stand, and now just feel both arms heavy, really heavy pulling at the shoulders. And then just lift the arms up with that, as though lifting them up is stretching them out even more. So you want this real feeling of energy flowing down the arms and out of the hands. And then just lean back slightly with the upper back to stop that toppling you forwards. And just try with your mind, you just keep it flowing. Yeah? So you keep that reach forwards and you keep that falling backwards, and they're just balancing each other. And just notice, that if the mind wanders, then everything will just freeze up and the flow will stop. You'll maintain a posture, but there'll be no energy in it. And what we want to feel is, what needs to happen in the heart to keep this flow going, because that's where it's coming from. That's where the emotional release is that enables the energy to continue flowing when the body has actually stopped. And you don't want to reach forward so much that it depresses this point here. This point should be rearing up out of this. So the heart is lifting. And then just bring it down. And now we just so that structure, that feeling of energy emanating out of the hands from the middle of the back here, from the heart, we want that same feeling in the legs. It's more difficult with the legs because they're compressed, between us and the floor by gravity. So let's just go just side to side again, like we were with the arms. But now just feel the leg here. So something here is releasing because my weight is coming off the leg a little bit. Yeah. And so there's a sense that there's like a flow of energy down the leg, out of the Dan Chen or the sacral area. Yeah. So it's coming across and then down. And then I just shift here and just feel this. So if you just take the weight off it a little bit, it will want to flow out if you're in the right mood, if you're in the mood of flow. And so I sink into this leg and ooh, something is coming out here. So we just want to feel that. So as soon as I release a little bit of weight, something comes out. So yeah, so as you move your weight this way with the leg, the energy can then flow from across the buttock and down the leg. So what we would like is for that flow to basically become the movement, to become the extension of the leg. So it's not it's not so much in my mind anyway, the muscle contracting in order to straighten the leg. It's more the release of energy from my sacrum down the leg that's actually moving me. And then the movement is just like a release. It's a release of energy rather than a sort of a hard work type thing. So it's something in my mind has to open up to just let myself become a flow from. Whoa. And it's difficult because, you know, there's the two actions. There's the muscular movement and there's the flow. And we don't want them to get sort of muddied up. We want to be able to really distinguish them. They just come from a different part of your mind. So the muscle working basically comes from the part of your mind that makes an effort, that sort of does this sort of thing. And the energy comes from the part of your mind that just lets go, that just releases, like turning on the tap. Wow. And of course, they're both there, but we just really want to sort of separate them out. So you're always working on at least two levels in Taoism. And the mood of each level is almost the opposite. This is what makes it difficult. So by mood, really, we just mean energy. Yeah, so this is what John would refer to as energy. So the John energy wasn't like it is in physics, where energy is just the capacity to do work. Energy is like the feeling or the mood, the atmosphere. And then we just want to be able to then just stand in riding horse and get both of them sort of flowing, both legs flowing down from the sacrum in the same way that I have both arms flowing out from the heart. And just, you know, feel the mind that maintains flows rather than the mind that makes an effort to actually keep something still or keep something moving in a uniform way. So here, something has to really wrench open. So it's a different sort of courage, yeah? It's the courage to open up and let go, rather than the courage to actually push your force in a certain direction. When I used to work with John, you know, so after, you know, when we moved to that place in Camden near Mornington Crescent, it was an effort for John to get in, you know, because of his eyesight, and he stopped coming in. And so he used to get me to go to him every day. And, you know, we'd be working together, and every now and then he'd manage to just do something which would just stop that forceful mind of mine, yeah, and force me to just open out into that energetic mind. And I would always collapse. I would always just fall, yeah, like I'd fainted. because I didn't have the energy to go with the openness. Yeah. And so it's actually difficult. And it's especially difficult in like a posture where you're still and where you're symmetrical and double weighted. So this is why, in your mind and in your body, you'd be slipping all the time. You have this leg and then this leg, this arm, this arm. It would always be moving. Because the thing we really have to guard against is freezing, is locking out energy. And it's interesting living here, where there's a lot of religious people, very religious people that basically just pray all the time. And because you can see that faith, that absolute faith that everything is in the right place and God will care for them as long as they pray. It just means they have that energy, they have that ability to sort of just let something out. They're not concerned with worries the way that a normal modern person is. And so when you come in front of them or you pass them in the street, they've got such strong energy. They look peculiar. And they relish the stranger, because the stranger is an opportunity to perform a kind deed, because God looks kindly on kind deeds. So they'll always smile, they'll always say hello. Okay. And now let's just move side to side, but with the pulling, remember? So when we pull with the empty leg, there's basically two little devices, really. One, you can just lift the heel a little bit, because when you pull more from the front of the foot rather than the heel. When you push more from the heel. But the other one, the important one really, is just releasing the knee outwards. Yeah, so my knee goes out and slowly my body follows it. So the difficulty with this one is that, because the leg is a bit sore from holding the weight, it wants to get rid of me. And so it will always help if it can. So you really have to discipline yourself to stay in this leg and then just get this one to sort of haul you out of it. And what's in the previous one, when you're pushing, you're basically moving yourself from where you are. Yeah. So if I'm pushing with the leg, I'm here and I'm moving this here to here. Yeah. I'm pushing something, I'm rolling something across. Now, when you're pulling, you need a presence outside of your body. You need a presence with that foot on the ground, and you sort of suck yourself towards that presence. So it's almost disembodied. There's a sense that you have your spirit here and it's calling your body across. So it's very different, very, very different. It's much more to do with spirit, which is why it's so important. So I bend the leg and slowly, the operative word really is slow. Ooh. It's like there's something holding you back. And you just manufacture that. I mean, if you're really relaxed, then that would be there. So yeah, so there's a sense that there's an image of me there, and I move into the image. And it's suddenly there. It's like, what? As soon as that leg is activated, that image is suddenly there. It takes no time to move from here to here. It's like it's bouncing from these two places. When you're pushing, you're just slowly moving a thing from leg to leg like this. Whereas here, something suddenly appears here which calls me, and then suddenly appears here. And what you'd like is for that pull to really originate in the dantian. So something in my dantian just contracts. So, and that starts me going across. So the leg as extension of dantian. Yeah, so when you let go and let your energy out, then there has to be part of you that really holds on. Otherwise, you'll fall to pieces. You'll lose it. And that's the dantian. So the more stretched you become and the more free with your energy, the more this becomes the really tight, dominant part of your body. So like one of those, those starfish that have like thread-like legs. So you all these threads, the two legs, the two arms, and the spine, and they're all knotted together here. And this has to be a really strong knot so that all these legs can sort of do their thing, can wander around. So the more the leg pulls me that way, the more this has to hold on to make sure the rest of me comes with it. And again, it turns you. So when you get pulled, you naturally tend to turn to face what it is that's pulled you. Okay. So now let's just come back to the riding horse. So the two heavy arms that are flowing away from the shoulders, the two legs that are releasing away from the hips, or away from the sacrum, really. Yeah. And so So real sense that you're almost falling apart, because this is going that way, this is going that way, this is going this way, this is going this way, and you're leaning back. And then just feel this. Feel like an elastic gripping in your belly. Yeah, so you've got these hoses of energy, basically your two arms, your two legs, and your spine and head. And they're all issuing energy. But there's a sense that, like, in the very middle of the issuance, of the energy, there's a draw backwards. There's a draw back. And so that's the dantian. So the dantian is sort of sucking. And so you're flowing down into the ground, but there's like in the middle, there's like this core of draw upwards, and the same here. And it's that gives the sticking quality in the hand. So when you put your hand on someone, there's a feel that you're sucking something from them into your palm and down your arm. And again, that just gives it, that lends it the balance necessary to maintain something. Yeah, so in one sense, it's just all, whoa, you're just relaxing, like breathing out. You're breathing out and just letting everything flow away from your body. But this is always breathing in. This is always contracting. So within each of these limbs of energy, there's a backflow into the dantian. Okay, so now let's just, so the magic ingredient really is turning. So let's just turn. Again, feeling turning as a technique for sort of splitting the mind and the body. So my body having mass is being thrown out because it just picks up this angular momentum. And my mind having no mass will actually come into the middle where it's still. So the body, which has mass and therefore inertia, is sort of naturally still, but it loves movement. So just feel how just wonderful this feels. Just releasing your flesh away from the bones and letting it just relax away from you. Like being on a swing. And the mind, being very light, is naturally moving, but it loves to be still. There's a sense of real peace when the mind becomes still. So you're giving body and mind what it craves, what they both crave more than anything. Pure movement in the body and peace and quiet in the mind. And just try and what we have to do, try all the time is just to catch the mood of energy. And so when you're in your energy, it's no longer compressed and heavy and depressing. There's like a lift. There's a sense of a lift within yourself and within the room. Yeah, so it's like almost like an optimism that just creates a good atmosphere, creates a good mood in the room. So if someone came in, they'd have a slight lift inside because your spirit is buoyant. Yeah, so the more advanced you get, the less and less it is about the movements, and the more and more it's to do with the cultivation of mood and energy. Okay. So now let's just work a little bit on just bringing the energy up. So remember, in order to get the spirit to rise, you have to let the body drop. And then when you bring the body back up, you just come into the normal flat world. So a sense that, all you have to do to actually rouse spirit is physically sink. Just need to go down. But you really have to feel that sinking, shifting your mood. So suddenly you've got this mood of interest and almost excitement. And then this is like, oh God, how depressing. And then we just want to be able to rise with the body without the energy rising. So just feel the down, feel your body being pulled, and then squeeze through that without going against it. Yeah, so here you're contract. This is the yielding phase, really, as you go down. So this is pulling in. And then as you come up, you're extending. So the toes extending, fingers extending. And then the toes, fingers contracting, the spine curling up a bit. And then extending. So they're both really important, both phases. But it's the contracting phase that we tend not to practice in our daily life. It's this phase. This phase gets practiced all the time when you're walking and everything. Yeah? You're always straightening a leg to actually get somewhere. But sort of bending the leg actively is something we don't normally do. We'll bend it passively because the other one is actively straightening. And so this is it's the belly pulling in, it's the belly being strong. That's the phase we tend to not be good at. Ooh. Okay, now let's just try it, with the bow and arrow like we were on whenever. So just turning to the corner and producing bow and arrow, basically. So basically bow and arrow, it's just one leg bent and the other one straight, or one leg bentish and the other one straighter. So the bent one is the bow and the straight one is the arrow. Yeah. So here, I've just turned to the corner. And so this side of my body, the side that's got the bent leg, the side that's got the front leg, is doing this. Yeah. And this side of my body is extending and doing this. Yeah. And so you've got the arms in like riding horse arms. Yeah. So the arms are symmetrical, but you just want to feel just how completely different they are. Yeah. Because this arm, it's almost like there's a pole here and I'm holding on to it so that this one can really release, this arm and this leg. Yeah. So even though they look the same, they're actually doing completely different things. This one is solid and supportive and holding on. This is the same as the leg is. And this one is extending and releasing. And then just swing it back to the front and just allow the two sides to sort of equilibrate, to equalize, sorry. It's not the same. And then just turn this side. Yeah. So this leg is sort of contracting to pull me round, and this leg is extending to push me round. So I'm pulling with one leg and pushing with the other one at the same time. But they have to be quite separate. So I don't want to produce a mind that does both together. Yeah. I want to be in two minds. One mind is doing this and one mind. And you'll feel that duality in the spine. Because one side of your spine is flexing and the other side is extending. So there'll be this sort of talking and talking. So it's communication. The spine it's got energy going up and down and it's twisting in both directions. Yeah, so the bent leg is sort of pulling like that. So that's getting energy to flow down into the dantian. And then the other side is extending down the leg, up the spine and down the arm. So that's got energy coming up the spine. So, it's always both directions. And then you just come back to the front again. And again, just sort of equalize it. And then just again to the side and just feel that's coming from this leg, pushing in that direction. And also this, which is coming from this leg and this arm. And it's like when you have two opposite things in the same space close to each other, there's always contention, there's always humor. It's like they're poking fun at each other. And there's always loads of energy and a lot of spirit. Yeah, so basically, bow and arrow is like a spirit posture. It's like, again, like the warrior poses of yoga. It's basically just a long bow and arrow. And then when you bring it back to the front, the spirit subsides because there's no longer that fight between the legs in the same way. So you just wait for that. You wait for that to settle. And then you just turn it this way and just feel it. It's like you're clamping to the ground at the same time that you're almost like a bunch of flowers is growing out of you. So there has to be that sort of internal component, what John would have called the internal energetic component to everything that you do. It tends to be like a feminine quality. So like, the sort of the dancer that I work with, she's got it best. I only need to tell her something and she's just in that mood. And then I can tell that she's doing it right, not because I'm looking at what she's doing, but because her mood is infecting me. I can feel what she's doing in my own body. Yeah. So this is what we want, the felt body. It's nothing to do with the senses. It's not as though I'm seeing what she's doing and then thinking, oh, how would I feel if I was doing that? It's nothing to do with that. It's instant. It's what John would call before. Yeah? It's communication that happens instantaneously. And then back to the front. And again, so just that sort of buoyant sort of springiness that enables it all to sort of just settle into equality. And then just one more this direction. Now, I've got a student that's sort of hopeless. I mean, nothing's ever hopeless, but she gets really threatened when I try to get her into energy because she instantly assumes she can't do it. Just brought up with unloving parents, being told that she's ugly and stupid all the time when she was a kid, growing up on a kibbutz where there just isn't intimacy, basically. And so she's just become really forceful and aggressive. And yet inside, underneath that shell of aggression, there's such a soft baby. And if I can get her into it, then she's just so good. Yeah. But she resists it every time. And then back to the front. Again, just allow the two sides to play with each other rather than issue energy. And then just one more time here. Just feel it. It's this side that's giving the energy out, and it's this side that's stable and enabling this energy to continue for time, for an amount of time, for the amount of time you're in the posture. And then just back to the front again. Yeah. So that's basically, what's happening when when we're doing this exercise. Yeah. So this side here is holding on and contracting so that this side can release, but it's not just the arm, it's the whole side of the body. Yeah. And then, so this is releasing in that direction, the leg flowing underneath the floorboards, and this flowing out here. So like in sumo, when they do the leg stamps, the foot stamps, the foot that comes off the ground, that leg gets really extended. It straightens almost above their head before it stamps down. So one side bending and supporting, and the other side straightening and expressing itself. And just feel the energy coming out. It's like, ooh, it goes forever. And then there's a point where it can't go any further. So it just comes back. All the time, this is right in the middle, holding on for dear life. Yeah, so it's not just the arm that's releasing from the shoulder, it's the leg that's releasing from the hip. The legs are the difficult ones, really, but the arms teach the legs. So if you can get it in the arm, then the leg will slowly pick it up. So and let's try the other side. Yeah, so the front leg is weird because like the leg and the arm are releasing in opposite directions. So here, the leg is releasing back and the arm is releasing forwards. So in a way, that's what sort of makes it difficult, but it's also what gives it its special power. They always say front leg energy is just so much stronger than back leg energy. Ooh. Ooh. And then let's just try it again, but just with the feet close together. So basically just the same thing. Yeah. So this feeling of something behind you coming around. sort of sidling. So as you turn to the side, it allows some energy from your back to reach forwards. So very much like your hand is directing a wing from behind you. Yeah, so something in me has to sort of let go. And then it's almost like this wing can sort of do a flourish. And then I just take it back and draw it back in again, like a curly cue. And so here, ooh, something happens that you don't control. You let go and allow something spontaneous to occur that you have no control over. But you can stop it. You can draw it back in. So you let the wing go, just hope it does its thing, and then you just pull it back in with the belly, basically. So the turn comes from the belly. This is the back extending. This is the belly contracting. Okay, great. So let's just wind it down. So just back to the tension posture. Yeah, so the sacrum sort of heavy, the legs a little bit bent with that spring in them. Head suspended, but not locked in position. So there's like a real willingness to sway in the head. And just the two spines, really. So the feeling that this is wanting to lift. Yeah. So this is what, you know, I would call prayer, like praising God. It's at the heart lifting upwards. But you've draped an overcoat over your shoulders. So if you go back too much, it's going to slip off. And so there's also a sense of something furling around like this. So this tends to get lost. So that has to be the important core. That's what John called thymus. Okay, great. So let's leave it there.